And we are live.
Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Rudkowski and Jason Bermas of WeAreChange here with our... We should have a name for this show, Jason, but we don't yet. But our live WeAreChange news show with the biggest wrap-up of all the crazy things that happened this week, which we're going to be live for another hour. So share this video with your friends and family members. We're mainly going to be answering your comments on YouTube, even though we're live on Facebook and Periscope as well. And, of course, we're going to prioritize Super Chats that keep us fully independent, fully funded, not shilling for any corporatist government left-right divide and conquer scheme that is meant to make people fight each other and divide human society as all the elites look up upon us and laugh at us. So yeah, Super Chats will definitely be prioritized in this broadcast. And we have a big broadcast coming up, Jason. We got a lot of things to talk about. Of course, the latest events that happened in Santa Fe, Texas. Google's Orwellian wet dream coming to fruition. Trump freaking out on Twitter today, North Korea, China trade war, and also, most importantly, how you're being robbed by fractional reserve banking and the kakistocracy as the government literally screws you over, takes away your medicine, and not hyperbole here, rapes you. You'll see the story that I have at the end of this broadcast is infuriating. Ugh! Gets me mad, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, my man. I got to tell you that it's, you know what? Every once in a while, we go live when there's big news. We had the Texas shooting. That's what we're leading with today. And the thing is, I don't love talking about dead kids. I don't know about you, but that's kind of a difficult, especially school children here in this country. It's something that's really not... I feel like there are some people out there that just can't wait for the next big shooting. So they go on the air and say it's a false flag or that there's crisis actors. But... coming at it, reporting it from an honest perspective, as we've always tried to do, Luke, it's difficult because it's gut-churning to think that there are young children and teenagers being gunned down at school.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, it's not only difficult, but it's done wrong by so many people, especially the mainstream media. I mean, as soon as I saw this incident, I automatically posted my video when I was talking about the psychological effects of how the mainstream media covers these mass shooting events, and then at the same time motivates and spurs other people to do the same. And I had my friend Lee Stranahan tweet out something that was very important, and I thought it was very thought-provoking as soon as the shooting was happening, and he said, breaking, some politician or political pundit is about to tweet or say something dumb about the Texas school shooting to try and score some political points. Update. Lots of people who oppose that person will point out the dumb things to score more political points for their side. And that's exactly what happened, Jason. Also, I think we also have a super chat right now by Joseph Gee, who gave us £2. Thank you so much, Joseph. Really appreciate that. So yet again, Jason, I totally agree with you. It's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to cover these horrible topics accurately without getting emotionally invested. And also... coming from an empathetic moral side, which a lot of people don't do. We saw, even as Business Insider has, how, they point the blame on the right wing here, and they say, quote, right-wing conspiracy theorists are trying to link the Texas shooter to the left-wing Antifa group. And yes, that did happen, as we were seeing from other tweets of people saying automatically, because of a photo that was posted of the shooter's jacket that had both right-wing symbols and also left-wing symbols, the people on the right just pointed to the left-wing signals and saying, look, he's a communist. He has to be Antifa. And the people on the right, like, what was it? Not the Gateway Pundit.
No, we had Cernovich. And the thing is, Luke... and
Cernovich did that, yeah.
Yeah, Cernovich put... And by the way, Mike's done some great work. I'm not here to attack Mike. But... those symbols, right and left wing, you know what they are? They're symbols of death in many cases. That's what they mean to people on both sides when you look at the atrocities that those symbols were carried out under. And I like George Carlin's quote on symbols. Symbols are for the symbol-minded, Luke. And they are tools of indoctrination and brainwashing, and they are used to carry out terrible things. So you got the hammer and sickle. And, obviously Cernovich was being blamed because he cropped out the Nazi logos on there. But basically anything to do with violent death, this disturbed individual glorified. And look where it took him.
Yeah, almost ultimately pretty much satanic. But again, we're seeing the hypocrisy not only on the right, but also left-wing major websites saying, oh, no, he was a neo-Nazi. Look at his jacket. He had neo-Nazi paraphernalia on there. So again, just more bipartisan hypocrisy, emotional, trying to score brownie points, really not taking any moralistic or just the right approach to just reporting on this. And it's pretty crazy. But I think this thing really wasn't as political as more of like a big psychological problem within this kid who, again, had both left-wing and right-wing symbologies. And they're saying that he also admired the Columbine killers and, appreciated them and liked them for some reason. And that should be automatically something that people should worry about, especially when it comes to a troubled teenager, when he's idolizing the Columbine shooting. They even say his shirt that said "Born to Kill" is a lyric from one of the death metal bands out there that, of course, the Columbine fans and Columbine shooters also adored as well. So we have to look at the bigger kind of sinister thing here, which is just pure evil. He even had a satanic Baphomet goat idol, an evil Japanese rising sun, kamikaze tactics. He had a whole bunch of crazy symbology in there, but this definitely was a mentally disturbed person that even the New York Times says many people aren't even surprised that this happened with this kid. And there was even a local broadcast from Texas. It was Channel 2 in Santa Fe that said that they talked to the neighbors, and this wasn't. And the neighbor claims to say that that the FBI visited him previously beforehand, and of course, just an absolute tragic event. Sadly, it wasn't prevented. Sadly, a lot of people were seeing the signs. I don't think it was motivated by any kind of political ideology, whether the neo-Nazi or whether an Antifa. I think it's more of a satanic, evil, troubled human being that had big psychological disorders that sadly wasn't addressed and wasn't dealt with properly. That's my assessment from the horrible, tragic events that happened there.
Well, I would say this, Luke. I think you're very right. Number one, we haven't heard about what kind of medications this kid had been on or possibly was on. But by all eyewitness accounts, Luke, he spared the kids he liked and he shot the kids he didn't. And this kind of mirrors that Columbine attack because, the quote-unquote trench coat mafia, there were 5 of them, Luke. It wasn't just 2 people. They didn't kill their friends. It seemed like, they killed kids that they didn't like and then indiscriminately. And this kid, I guess, had planned to kill himself. He used pipe bombs. They didn't explode. Again, that was something mimicking the infamous Columbine attacks. And, we covered it on the scene. We know that there was a second person that was detained. That really has not been explained thoroughly. But this kid doesn't seem to be in denial. He is talking to the judge. He seems to be admitting what he's done. And I couldn't agree with you more, man. It was not politically motivated, and it's part of the sickness of this culture. And that culture includes medicating our children.
And also at the same time, the mainstream media talking about these shooters in a kind of a mass effect way that has other mentally deranged people kind of idolize them, which is sickening and should be stopped. And if we stopped the reporting by mainstream media of how they're actually talking about these events, they could actually prevent a lot of them from even happening. Just moving on with the stories, we got some super chats here. We got one by Mike Mendoza, who is saying, what are your thoughts of the royal wedding? Do you believe it's part of the social engineering agenda? I guess there could be a point made to that, especially with a family that is living off the welfare of the people and really is just a symbolic gesture in the United Kingdom. But again, it's more just distractions. It's more just hooey that doesn't really matter. That's my take on the royal wedding. What's yours? That happened this week as well, Jason.
I think he hits the nail on the head. The fact that we've all been indoctrinated to think that it's okay that a family gets to prance around and get paid for by the people in mansions and have government decisions is absolutely insane. And to me, they have a lot more power because they actually own things and they actually do pull the strings and they actually do have intelligence ties and they were tied to the Nazis. So crush the crown, man. I'm with you 1,000%. This is more than just a psychological operation. It's Luke. It's something that my kids are indoctrinated in with Disney. They were talking about how they wanted to be princes and princesses yesterday, and I literally stopped them and I said, listen, that title is not a good one. And the people that actually wear those crowns, in many, many cases, I go, not everybody that has royal blood, because you know what, Luke? You judge somebody by the content of their character, but they have done atrocities throughout history. The crown must be crushed. We must get rid of royalty across the board. And in fact, over at the WeAreChange Facebook page, there are a couple articles by The Guardian which share that viewpoint and show, listen, you don't give a hell about that wedding, do you? I wanted to use some hooey language, but I didn't. Did you?
Well, I mean, no, I didn't even watch it. I didn't want to.
No,
watch it.
I don't care about it.
I don't think people should support inbred welfare recipients, and they shouldn't be idolized in any way. And then plus, their history and everything is just extremely dark. And I'm not just talking about the groom of the stool. If you don't know what that means, I don't recommend Googling it. But these people are depraved, sick human beings, and that whole royal family has even called for, a lot of them are eugenicists, a lot of them are elitist, a lot of them called for the population being wiped out. Some of them have even talked about coming back as viruses and wiping off the population of the world to help the earth and all this other crazy sickness. But obviously, when it comes to that kind of upper echelon elitism, which also a lot of people connect to very nefarious activities, pedophilic activities as well as horrible activities as well. There's even some connections through the Dutch royal family that I've been investigating and looking into. Really, really just sinister, sick stuff that shouldn't be idolized in any way and shouldn't be distracting us and shouldn't have anyone putting anyone else above us. We got another super chat by Paul A. And he says there's a new American embassy in London, possible tunnels to MI6. YouTuber Swilliamson just posted about it. I actually saw that video about Swilliamson. I didn't watch it. I didn't click on it, but I have it ready to play afterward. I know Swilliamson, good guy. I like his videos. They're very in-depth. They're very different than other people do them. So I'm definitely going to check that video out and talk about the new kind of embassy in London. I was actually around there when they were constructing, but it's a major, big site. And it wouldn't surprise me if there possibly is tunnels to MI6 there. Any comments on that, or should we move on to the next super chat, Jason?
No, I think we've covered. I mean, you did mention that, some are collected to pedophilia. Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile almost was the godchild of the guy that just got married. Again,
the former prime minister of the United Kingdom is an outed pedophile. That's
yes. It's they keep trying to suppress this stuff. So to me, it goes beyond, we're not really talking about the wedding, but in these articles, they also talk about how no one really does care, Luke. We don't care, but the media, for some reason, over there especially, and in Europe, and even here to some extent, did you see Megyn Kelly shilling out with that ridiculous hat? These people should be ashamed of themselves. They're going to sycophant weddings in clown suits, Luke. So you know what? We are going to move on. Let's move on to the next super chat. Oh,
poor Megyn Kelly.
I feel so horrible for her.
She resorting to awkward dancing on her show just to get viewership. It's just sickening. It's kind of cringy as well, just looking at the just destruction of her career, trying to revitalize herself on the major media network, and it just shows you how fake and cancerous, and all of this is just a big illusion. And I think Jimmy B with the next super chat definitely put the nail on the head here, and he said, "Didn't we stop caring about the royal wedding since 1776?" And I'm saying, yeah, I totally agree with you. But moving on, we still got more articles to talk about, more information that happened this week that you guys need to know about. And this is kind of in a related welfare recipient Orwellian elitist establishment news. We, of course, have Google Selfish Ledger, the news about that coming out, which provided a very insane video that actually came out in 2016, which shows kind of Google's plan for the future. How would you describe the latest information that just came out with Google's selfish ledger, Jason?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, this video not meant for the public. The Verge are the people that published it. You can watch the whole thing over on our Facebook channel, and it's basically an 8-minute synopsis of not only evolution, but Darwinian evolution into the future of AI, and what they've already been able to do with all the data that they've accrued on you, which is immense. Remember, this is an internal 2016 video that the media is not hyping. They're not talking
and
about.
Jason, you should know. Google knows more about you than you know about yourself. And with predictive programming, they could see what you're about to do before you even do it. And the video's creepy. Like, when we play the video, you could probably play it in the background. But they start off talking about epigenetics and Darwin, which, of course, was kind of the founding kind of ideology of eugenicism. So I think just off the bat, it was like, wait, hold on a minute. Let's think about this. It was extremely creepy.
Yeah, and you know what? The volume is so low on this thing right now. We can play it in the background while all of us sit here and discuss it. But it is pretty telling what they're doing with the information now. They show you how they're cross-referencing data from separate devices and then geolocating you so that they can then sell you different things. Okay, that's one small aspect of this. But where it gets to kind of this Black Mirror-esque thing is that they're recording all of it, and they even talk about how deciding what's moral, what's right, is kind of problematic. Okay, and in the throes of this plan later on, it is to develop not only what you like, but so that they will 3D print it for you, Luke, and it will be served up on demand. They'll decide what they think you need. They'll make that product. Forget about marketing, Luke. It's not coming for this one. It's just there, and then all of a sudden that product is there, and that's just a very small aspect of this, guys. What was crazy to me about this, if you look, every time that you see a human being being featured, Luke, or you see a group of human beings, they're always on their devices. Okay? There's no more getting away from that device. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, they also made a reference in the video like, you shouldn't own your information. Let Google be responsible for your information, and they're showing you how they're going to be suggesting what you should do, that you should carpool, you should buy some bananas, and they could help with depression, they could help with health and poverty. It's really just like another format of social engineering that they're trying to push through. It's crazy that they even had this idea, this video, all the way back in 2016. You probably wouldn't even imagine what they have now that's up to date, but it's really terrifying seeing how they see themselves and seeing the bigger implications behind this, especially with so much information being collected against you, and also their participation with the U.S. Pentagon drone program, which has a very bad record for human rights, which has a very bad record for civilian casualties, and has a very bad record of Barack drone bomber abusing that program, bombing 7 countries during his administration, which Donald Trump, of course, is ramping up as every other president before them. We see the escalation of the military-industrial complex, which, of course, Google and Alphabet are well interconnected with. We could see them participating and working together, selling all of your information, not only to private corporations, but also the government. The government has all your information from Google, and they could easily use that against you in so many different ways, especially if you become a threat against the old establishment, the old system, the old social engineers who really have all the money and all the power and all the control, who are really pulling the strings behind their complexes that they support. That's all I have to say on that matter. Very creepy, very weird. Should scare the crap out of everyone. Their video should have had like a diaper warning in the beginning, like put on a diaper, because if you really know what's going on, you will poop your pants easily. Anything else you want to say on that issue?
Yeah, you know what, and we missed putting this story up here, and we should, but for those that don't know, many people working on that AI project for Google that you just talked about had a petition out last month saying, hey, we don't want to work for this government drone program anymore. It's bad news brown. And some people, Luke, they said, hey, I'm a human being, I'm stepping up to the plate, and this week they quit. It wasn't thousands. It was not thousands. We really do need to reach out. If any of you people know some of the programmers that quit, we would love to interview them and talk to them personally why they made a decision to leave what would probably be a very lucrative financial career to have a soul. I think that's an interesting take.
I say we should do a cryptocurrency proposal, get some cryptocurrencies and hire them and do some really cool projects that liberate and free people and decentralize systems in order to spread away the power and give an answer and solution to all the other crap that's out there. That's just my idea. We got another question. This one's going to be very interesting. I want you to take this one first, Jason. Mother Nugget asks, what is your favorite psychedelic?
Jeez.
Jason?
Oh, boy. I'm going to be quite frank with my past drug use. I have not taken a psychedelic drug, and I'm a 38-year-old man. Since I think 2008, so a decade ago, was the last time mushrooms. I'll tell you, when I was a younger guy, Luke, I don't know about you, but when gel tabs were a thing, I actually did enjoy the synthetic take of gel tabs.
What's gel tab? What's in that? Was that like marijuana?
Or? No. That was liquid acid, but in like a gelatin form. So instead of a piece of paper, it would just kind of like evaporate on your tongue, like one of those mint things that came out like 10, 15 years ago. So those ones weren't. Those had like a speedy, like get you going kind of thing. How about you, big guy?
No comment. Moving on with the next story. We have Donald Trump tweeting up a storm here. No. I'm going to answer this question. Again, psychedelics are a very fascinating, interesting topic. I've done a couple videos on talking to a lot of different people and a lot of different experts in the field. It's something that's very personal. It's something that's very private. The decision to take psychedelics should be done with plenty of research because you are playing with very, very serious things. And again, do your own research, do your own homework. It's not for everyone. I've seen a lot of medical benefits with some instances, speaking from a friend that I know, from mushrooms. Psychedelic mushrooms. I'm also a big Bill Hicks fan, and I appreciate his commentary on psychedelic mushrooms. Who do I talk to? I talk to McKenna about mushrooms and how they have good psychological effects on people who deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. My friend had experiences with psychedelics, and it helped him deal with a lot of trauma in his life, and it helped him process things within his life, and it helped him see the things that he was ignoring that was in his subconscious that was affecting him without even him knowing, and brought those things to the light. And a lot of people, when they do take mushrooms, they either have really bad trips or really good trips. From what I've seen, it's the mushrooms showing you what you need to see. Again, this is speaking from a friend's perspective. But to me, my friend has had very positive experiences with mushrooms. But yet again, I can't say this enough. Don't just go willy-nilly popping psychedelics in your mouth. There needs to be a lot of research. There needs to be a lot of homework. And there needs to be a lot of also intuitive work done within internally if you ever are going to make that decision to experiment and play around with other dimensions and other consciousness, which is a very serious game and shouldn't just be done in jest or for fun. They should be treated with a lot of respect and responsibility. So, mushrooms. Moving forward, okay, we got another super chat. We're going to get to Mike afterwards, but we should definitely get to the Trump thing, Jason, because Trump is definitely not happy today as he took to Twitter in a very angry tweet storm where he talked about the FBI's investigation on him, the Mueller investigation on him, which he called a witch hunt that he wants stopped. And then he also went on to slam Hillary Clinton and John Podesta in his tweet storm today. But obviously, he is not happy with the Mueller investigation. And as we've been covering here, the Mueller investigation does look like a bunch of hooey. It hasn't proved any Russian collusion at all. They're literally talking to porn stars, going to MMA fights. To me, it's a big distraction. It's not proving anything. And I think a bigger kind of evidence kind of point to prove that is now that they're looking into Donald Trump's Jr. and other aides and their meeting that they had with Gulf states that were offering them help to win the election. We're also hearing that Qatar may have damaging information on Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner has been doing a lot of the wheeling and dealing here, but the information that the FBI and Mueller are looking into right now is, of course, Jared Kushner meeting with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia offering Donald Trump help to win the office, and this has spurred Donald Trump to be immensely angry and blast off on the tweet storm today. And obviously, if you've been watching our channel, if you've been following foreign policy, Donald Trump and Saudi Arabia are in direct collusion, not in the benefit of the United States, not in the benefit of you or me, but in benefit of a Sunni Wahhabist state that is backwards, that violates human rights, and with the United States is creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now. A lot of people are talking about what's happening with Israel and Palestine, but the real bloodshed, the real pain, the real suffering that's being created by Saudi Arabia and the United States is happening in Yemen, with the media almost completely silent about it. So now Mueller's investigation is looking into the collusion between Saudi Arabia and the United States, which is interesting because they're taking it very seriously when there was obvious collusion previously revealed through this investigation that Jared Kushner was colluding with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Everyone with that collusion evidence coming out, being point blank, being proven with this investigation, was just silent about it. Michael Flynn went down because of Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner got a phone call from Netanyahu telling him that there's going to be a big UN vote against Israel. And he told Jared Kushner that the United States must lobby other countries to not vote against Israel. Jared Kushner called Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn called other countries. Donald Trump wasn't president then. That violated the law. Michael Flynn went down because of Jared Kushner and their open collusion with Israel, which no one wants to talk about. So it's interesting to see the media and also Mueller now look at Saudi Arabia and say, hey, there could have been massive collusion here. And obviously, there is. Has there been before he was elected? Well, I think we're going to find out. That's what I got from the story. What did you get, Jason?
See, to me, Trump has every right to be upset. It's now been over a week and a half since Halper has been outed by anybody looking who doesn't just blindly follow CNN as an FBI informant. That's insanity. That's one guy. I tend to think there was maybe 2 to 5, Luke. I think we're going to find out he wasn't the only paid informant. We now know this thing has cost over $20 million. Let me remind everybody. The 9/11 Commission got $14 million, spent $15 million on the largest terrorist attack. Hey, that was an actual event. They weren't looking to see if something had happened. Something had happened, and they took $14 to $15 million not to investigate it. Now they've taken $20 million, and they keep going to investigate something that is imagination land. And literally, you have Giuliani out there saying that they're not going to talk to him because they know this is a perjury trap. Nobody is saying that Donald Trump is not a criminal. Nobody is saying that Donald Trump is not in the pocket of the Saudi Arabians and the Israelis. Not anybody that's watching anyway, and nobody is saying he's doing a good job in the Middle East that isn't brainwashed by his base neocons and supposed alternative media cheerleaders, Luke. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, the alternative media cheerleading is really repugnant. But also there's a lot of talk right now. Repugnant. That's what I said, right?
Repugnant.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. English is my second language. You can't get mad at me, all right? But also, with this investigation, the Donald Trump team is also talking about a potential FBI infiltrator that infiltrated his presidential campaign. And there's been a lot of rumors about that. Trump is supposedly opening up a new investigation. about this. What do you think about the spy story, that there was a spy inside of Donald Trump's presidential campaign?
There's no doubt about it. Like I said, Luke, I mean, Halper has been outed. They were paying him like 300 grand. Hey, get me in a campaign and I'll sing like a bird for 300 grand. Get me in there. Right, Rudkowski? I mean, especially to these vultures. They're all terrible people, but that's not what Halper was. Halper, again, is one of these guys that's a pseudo-intellectual, that's probably a member of the CFR, that's constantly in these think tanks and groups, and has been working with intelligence agencies for years. And like I said, I don't think he's the only one. I think we're going to find out there was 2 to 5 of these people. And remember, this all happened before the man was president. And let's not kid ourselves. People that get that far, whether they're celebritards like Donald Trump or they're, hardcore, cold-blooded politicians like the Clintons, they're criminals. If you want to find something on these people, it ain't hard.
No, it's definitely not, especially with the more powerful they are. There's obviously more skeletons in the closet, and obviously there's a couple skeletons in everyone's closet. For me, that seeing the Stormy Daniels release just shows you how low and how pathetic the whole Mueller investigation actually is, because it's nonsense. It doesn't really prove anything except that he made a very unwise decision. And again, I don't trust this man because if he thinks the Iran deal is a bad deal, he can't at the same time be paying $130,000 to Stormy Daniels for intercourse. Like, that is just a bad.
To cover up intercourse, he probably paid a lot more for the hot action.
Probably was all in one. That's a bad decision. That's a horrible bad decision. And that's the man who wrote The Art of the Deal. That's not how you make a deal, especially with all the information that's coming out right now. Bad deal there, Donald Trump. But it's irrelevant. I don't care about it. Mueller shouldn't care about it. The mainstream media shouldn't care about it because it doesn't affect anyone. It doesn't make a damn difference whether he had intercourse with Stormy Daniels or he didn't have intercourse. It's just a big distraction. It's a catch-22 because I am kind of interested to what they're going to find out about the collusion with Saudi Arabia and Trump's team. But at the same time, I don't want to be cheering on just an asinine criminal organization that really is doing a huge disservice to the American people with this Russia investigation that is absolutely proving has nothing to do with Russia. So again, big catch-22 here. We got more super chats. We got one by 3-Pack Sun saying the greatest independent journalist of all time. Well, thank you so much, 3-Pack Sun. Means a lot. We do our best here. We're not perfect. We also make mistakes. I can't even say repugnant right, as Jason called me out for before. Repugnant, whatever, doesn't matter. English is my second language. I'm moving on here. Mike Mendoza has another super chat. What are your thoughts of China giving citizens social points for not stepping out of line? Sounds like fascism is escalating and the U.S. using it. Mike, great comment. We covered that story, I think, 2 weeks ago. I believe I also made a full video on the China social credit point that they have there, that they're going to be implementing and expanding to all citizens. Already, a journalist has been caught up in this social points by the Chinese government for criticizing the Chinese government, and now he can't buy a flight, his daughter can't go to a good school, and it's just repugnant to see what is happening, and just devastating to see so many people under this draconian system that really squashes any critical thinking, any dissent, any freedom. So the Chinese government definitely is overstepping their balance. This new system, this new merger of technocracy and the kakistocracy. If you don't know what that is, Google kakistocracy. The merger of these two is something that we all have to worry about. And obviously China is a test system, and if this system works out effectively in China, I would definitely see it being used here in the United States. You have any comment on that, Jason?
Yeah, no, I think it is going to be used in the United States. I think China is the plan. I think this is a large population that is being put under this thing very, very rapidly. They're talking about, I believe, 1.2 billion people, and they already have well over 100 million under this system. There's already 11 million people that can't ride in planes, 4 million that can't ride in trains, and we're talking about a selfish ledger that a company that works with our government on AI drones has been taking for over a decade. Well
Yeah,
over a decade.
That's most likely what the Google selfish ledger is. That's most likely
exactly. You're right, and these type of things will easily be given, sold, worked with the government for a similar plan, Luke. And it is frightening to think where our future could be in 5, 10, or even 20 years. I did not think it would be possible for China to implement this so quickly. I mean, they're talking about, I believe, taking it from something like 200 plus million CCTV cameras to 600 plus million CCTV cameras in less than 18 months. That's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, and it's only expanding with facial recognition, which is also a huge privacy risk, especially with cameras being all over the place, watching your every single move. And they're even saying in China, if you smoke in the wrong area, you're going to lose some social credit points, and then you're going to have a harder time even living this life, which is pretty crazy. Singapore is implementing a very similar system. I remember being in Singapore and just being terrified in that country, just being utterly scared, because if you smoke in the wrong area, if you jaywalk, cameras will follow you and you will get a $10,000 fine. I believe, what was it, $1,000 fine for some infractions? Huge infractions for the smallest offense. Gum is illegal in that country, and they have government cameras and police officers watching and patrolling everything you do. So I was only there for a few days in Singapore. I don't know if I'm ever going to come back. I went on a weird Tinder date with someone who works for the jail system there, and their jail system's intense. The stuff that she was telling me, great woman, had a great time. The stuff that she was telling me about the jail system there, they have their own, like whole news teams that just work for the jail, and they really make it a point to talk about how they discipline people. There was a number of American tourists that got whooped there. They do caning in Singapore, and it's an extremely, extremely controlled area. There's some beautiful parts about it. There's some great things about it, but just the fact that the government acted this way absolutely petrified me and terrified me. So we're going to move on to the next story. And the next story in the section of I Told You So, Jason, is going to be North Korea. Obviously, this week we heard North Korea coming out publicly and saying that they canceled the peace talks between South and North Korea, mainly because of a U.S.-South Korea military drill that was going to simulate the bombing and invading of North Korea. North Korea said, what the hell? No, can't do the talks with South Korea. We're even putting the talks with Trump in a potential cancellation. So they even threatened to cancel the meetings with Donald Trump over these military drills, which again, if you've been watching this channel, if you've been watching our live shows, we've been talking about for a very long time. These military drills are the main component, are the main stipulation that the Koreans have. The Chinese and Koreans have offered this deal up to Barack Obama, to Donald Trump a number of times, and along with the military drills and the great intelligent comments from warmongering, bloody mustache John Bolton, Trump's national security advisor, coming out and saying that they're going to use the Iraq and Libya model. North Korea finally answered back. We've been talking about this for weeks, saying this was a disastrous comment, saying we're not going to be like Iraq. We're not going to be like Libya. And again, I've gone onto this topic for a very long time, but it looks like Donald Trump, again, we're seeing very duplicitous messages here that Donald Trump really wants the meeting with Kim Jong-un to happen. And obviously, we know that there was a major decision today. So there's a caveat, Jason, to I told you so, because as we found out just a few moments ago, that Trump responded to North Korea by saying that the United States would provide very strong protections to their regime if they denuclearize. And most importantly, he also just canceled the military exercise that had this plan. So there is prospect for actual peace here now. There is Trump backing down for the very aggressive, from the very neoconish, from the very John Bolton script that was given to him. And he actually canceled these military drills, which of course will make the North Koreans open up, will make the North Koreans more open to coming to the table and negotiating and letting some other things go. But at the same time, when this happened, Donald Trump just moments ago said that if Kim Jong-un doesn't make a deal, he will suffer the same fate as Gaddafi. Of course, he's talking about Muammar Gaddafi, the former leader of Libya, who, of course, threatened the U.S. petrodollar and tried to start a gold dinar African Union currency. And because of that, NATO and the United States, with Barack Obama, put their foot up in his buttocks and other things with the rebels that they hired that literally sodomized and tortured him on live television and had him murdered and executed by mostly radical Islamic terrorist groups that also thrive now in the area. That is a totally lawless state that has brought back slavery. Thank you, Barack Obama, for bringing back slavery in the modern civilized world and utterly destroying Libya to pieces. So again, very duplicitous talk from Donald Trump, backing down with the war drills, which is a great sign, which will obviously make North Korea come to the table now, but at the same time, very tough talk, saying you're going to suffer the same fate as Gaddafi unless you do what I say. So very confusing messages from the White House. I still am not that optimistic. There might be some symbolic handshake. There might be some small little symbolic deal made between the two, but long-term peace with the way that this is unfolding, I don't think is possible. Jason, what do you think?
I'm holding out hope, baby. I'm dreaming a dream. I believe, and I know, that we disagree on this point, and you've been saying I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But if you saw that, there was some push, and then there was some pushback. And one of the things, one of the articles we skipped and we didn't catch, it was from last month, actually a month ago today. North Korea says U.S. must stop defending Israel, which is destroying the Middle East. So you got to remember, that's pretty bold talk from a nation that's been considered by most to be the number one slave state / nuclear threat to the world, Luke, when they talk about a nation that actually has nuclear weapons and a vast military operation going on in the Middle East. And then on top of that, we don't really know how much China was involved in convincing Kim Jong-un to ditch the nuke program, right? We do know that there's the possibility that their whole thing had collapsed, right? We know that's out there, that earthquakes had caused most of their program to collapse. We don't know whether that's true. And there are other media sources that are now reporting that Trump really didn't convince him. China did. And as we know, Luke, there are a ton of U.S.-China relations going on behind the scenes. Trade wars, not a trade war. Kim Jong-un going to China, coming back, meeting with the Koreans, and then not wanting to meet with Trump. Deals on again, off again. So there's a lot going on, my man, and I'm holding out hope. I'm reaching for that rainbow. I'm hoping we can give peace a chance.
Have you been following Q? Have you just turned to the Q side, Jason?
Luke! We're not going to do it today. We're not.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying. I haven't been. Have you been following any nonsense in the last? After it had now been established that what we had said about it as a reality for weeks.
The Q thing.
Yeah.
Just to bring in context for everyone.
I haven't paid any attention other than in my Twitter feed. Every once in a while it'll come up, and I quickly scroll by because there's real news to be had. That's it.
I'm still getting a whole bunch of crazy comments being like, Luke, you don't get it, man. Q's the right thing, man. Q's predicting this. There's symbology here. And then I'm like, I just take a deep breath and I automatically turn off the computer and just start meditating and just don't go back to it at all. But also, just continuing on the same relations with North Korea, China, and the United States, there is another train of thought here that it is mainly China that is responsible for the two coming together, North Korea and the United States, because as we have this article here that states that China adamantly opposes nuclear weapons on the peninsula. And the whole deal in a nutshell, China, who is North Korea's biggest trading partner, gave Kim an ultimatum: ditch the nukes or face long-term economic strangulation. Kim very wisely chose the former option, which is to say he backed down. Now, of course, Kim Jong-un just had a meeting with China a few weeks ago. He was in China with a very symbolic trip. Obviously, the big geopolitical picture here with China is in play here, and it is in the benefit of China to have the United States withdraw their fleets and their military presence in the Korean peninsula. So obviously, China could be pushing here. Obviously, Kim Jong-un having a nuclear weapon, whether he has one or doesn't have one, there's train of thought saying that his nukes were destroyed in an earthquake. There's another train of thought saying he finally did finish his nukes. That's why he's coming to the table, because he has something to negotiate with. But overall, the United States does not want to back down their military presence, does not want to stop their major war games that are happening in the Korean Peninsula, because obviously they're also there in a response to China, and there to try to stop some of the expansion and military expansion that China has been going on and doing for the last few years, especially with the new military island that they're building off the South Asian Sea. So it's going to be a very interesting mix, but I don't see the United States moving out fully militarily. It is in the benefit of China that there is peace between North Korea and the United States. So obviously there has to be some wheeling and dealing, especially with China being North Korea's partner. North Korea is ultimately screwed. They're screwed now also mainly because of U.S. sanctions that is causing a lot of people in North Korea to starve and to deal with a big humanitarian crisis that's happening in that country as well. All right, I think, do we have any more super chats or no? No, we don't have any more super chats.
No, I think we've got them.
Yeah, and I think this China-U.S. relations is very important, as we just got information that the U.S. and China have put their trade war on, quote, hold. This is new information that we're getting from Steve Mnuchin. I can't even say his name. U.S. Treasury Secretary, who says that the negotiations over the tariffs have borne fruit. And of course, we got another article by the National Review saying that China is contributing $500 million to Trump-linked project in Indonesia. We have another article by NPR saying that President Trump puts America first on hold to save Chinese jobs. And of course, Trump is slamming that accusation on Twitter, saying that he didn't fold on the ZTE as China trade talks have begun just a few days ago. What's your take on these kind of bigger trade war talks that now we're getting information have finally died down, and what Donald Trump has been doing, Jason?
Well, I think that they're real in the sense that, they're trying to cut deals. And if you look at ZTE, for instance, they're on the cheaper end of cell phones. They don't make a lot of high-end stuff. You see them with the track phone companies. But then you have another company out there called Huawei. It starts with the H. It kind of looks like Hawaii. And they, although are in the cheaper market, had started making some high-end phones and challenging. They were becoming the third largest. And all of a sudden, we can't sell those anymore because they have spy devices in them, and you can check it out. But there are some concerns that the Chinese government is using Huawei for spying. And anybody that is in the tech industry will tell you that that is a bunch of Johnny nonsense, that the code is so open source in Android. If anything were put there, they would know about it, and they would figure it out. And basically, it's a demonizing campaign to limit trade to certain companies that aren't playing ball. It's called geopolitical finance, and it's effing cutthroat, my friend.
No, it is definitely cutthroat, and there is a lot of tough talk between China and the United States. Obviously, China is threatening the U.S. world hegemony on the global stage, and the two have been butting heads. There has been very tough talk between the two, but it looks like there has been some kind of deal made that, of course, benefits them. Some projects getting funded here, Donald Trump conceding on this. It definitely has pissed off a lot of Trump voters who are saying he's not putting America first. He's not putting American workers first. It should be interesting to see how this will proceed. But the bigger picture here that not many people are putting into perspective is that if China and the U.S. Economically attack each other, they both will go down. The Chinese economic system is just as fraudulent as the American economic system. It's all based on just people's beliefs and ideology. They're all totally bankrupt. They're all totally fake. They're all totally in debt. And They all need each other to keep each other sustained. And if one of them goes down, both of them will go down. If the Chinese economic market goes down, the U.S. market goes down. U.S. market goes down, the Chinese market will go down. Those two systems, utterly fake, but utterly dependent on each other. Moving on with more horrible economics, of course, got news today that almost half of U.S. families can't even afford basics like rent and food. There's another article here by Business Insider saying that the average American worker takes less vacation time than a medieval peasant. To me, this is mainly because of the kakistocracy, the plutocracy, the fractional Federal Reserve banking system that with inflation and deflation robs us blind, creates money out of thin air, then creates some kind of interest that could never be paid back. And with the motivation and the corporation getting welfare from the government, corporate welfare being on the rise, their tax incentives being on the rise, we are seeing a system that in front face value is supposedly a very free one, but in reality, bigger economic warfare that's happening here is extremely sinister, and more people are suffering than ever. To me, it's just a show of the times, and I think more people need to report on the real kind of economic system that we're all under, because we're hearing news that the stock market's doing great, and sure, private companies are doing great, but when it comes to the average American, I would say economically, especially with the purchasing power of the US dollar going dramatically down, we are being screwed economically more than ever. That's how I see it. How do you see it, Jason?
Well, Luke, to go back to not the vacation time story, but the economy where we can't afford anything, right? And I was breaking down economics for just, I'm in a college town, so, I run a bar. I know a lot of these younger kids. And I tell them, I'm like, well, where are you planning on living? Oh, you're planning on living in New York City or Long Island. Well, I hope it's, 80 to 120 grand starting pay, because that's going to mean, after you pay all your bills, you feed yourself, and you have your taxes, maybe you got 15 grand to play around with, to go out to dinner, to go out to a bar, which is nothing in those places. So plan your, dozen nights out, certainly no vacation time, right? And there was another story that we didn't cover that I actually posted on my personal page, where it says, and I know you're going to argue with me, city boy, but that people that live in the country, 80% of country living, 80% of them are happier. And let me tell you why. It's because I live in a community. Okay, I know the people around me. I had a nice little day today. I went to a birthday party, to a little kid's birthday party, to a friend's house, to, soccer games. I know the people. My kids are at the Boys and Girls Club. I know who takes care of my kids. We interact with one another. We talk to one another. We act like human beings. Now, that's becoming harder and harder to do because we've moved towards a Chinese system. We're talking about that Chinese economy, and you're talking about how they're interdependent, and they are. So in the early 80s, China started getting Coca-Cola and Blue Jeans and private corporations. Everything wasn't state-run. So their socialized system moved towards more of a westernized system. And then in the 80s with us, our welfare system changed dramatically. As our social security system got more and more burden and more people were on subsistence living, they couldn't afford things. Our healthcare system dramatically changed in the 90s, further gutting us financially and becoming more and more socialized, more like them. And now, Luke, 30 plus, almost 40 years later, a lot of these things, my friend, are almost indistinguishable from each other, that Chinese society has moved so much towards ours and we've moved so much towards theirs. I think it was important that we talked about that social credit score system, because we could see both of our societies under that at the same time someday. That's my thought on it, my friend.
I mean, yeah, we're all guilty of it. I mean, I'm like, hey, what's your Uber rating? I'm like, oh, you're a really bad person if you got a bad Uber rating. But I think you're right with the story. I won't argue with you. New York City is a poop hole, saying it nicely. There was even someone trying to break into my family's home before I got here last week on Saturday. at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Great to visit, Luke. Great culture. Great to visit. I'm just saying, I don't know that human beings are meant to be packed in sardine.
A lot of junkies, a lot of trash everywhere, but it makes you better. It makes you tougher, Jason. All right, the stuff you see here. I mean, it's getting at the same time it's getting corporately squeegee cleaned, and there's nothing but like CVS's and McDonald's and police officers willing to give you a ticket for having a coffee on the subway. It's really becoming an unlivable place, mainly because of just the rise of the police state. That if you have tinted windows, they will get you. You do a real crime. And maybe they'll actually put some effort into it, but at the same time, it's a total poop hole here. A lot of junkies, a lot of crazy people, a lot of noise, a lot of things. That's why I enjoy getting away. That's why I get away a lot of the times and travel. I haven't traveled in over 7 days, which is a very long time. Please let me know where I should go and what stories I should cover on my Twitter, twitter.com/Luke WeAreChange. I'm itching. I still have a couple things to do, especially with my health. That I have to deal with.
Are you going to Bilderberg, my friend? Because that's coming up. Are you going to Italy?
Yeah, of course. I'm definitely going to Bilderberg. I'm definitely going to be there. But even talking to, I was out last night, even talking to some of the people that live here, it's virtually impossible. Everyone's a debt slave. Everyone's indebted financially to a big banking institution. Everyone's going to college, putting themselves into utter slavery, and then working jobs that ultimately are unfulfilling, and they have to do because they have to pay off this big burden that they're, put on, and then they can't even go out there and start families because how are you going to raise a kid when you're in the hole? 20,000, 50,000, or however many thousands you need to borrow to get your little stupid job. It's all a big Ponzi scheme that's being played against you, and people need to wake up and realize most of you guys who are studying all this bullcrap in college need to drop out and actually start doing things that you love and are productive and actually help society, and at the same time do something that you really like and do something that people really do need out there. And that's why this next story is very fascinating by Bustle, talking about how someone has paid off $18,000 of their student loans, but they still owe $24,000 when their student loan was $24,000. That's how big of a scheme this is. You can't go bankrupt on a student loan. And there are very specific rules here that ultimately destroy your life. These big banking institutions, these corporatocracies, these government officials that sell out to the corporations, that give tax incentives to corporations like Google and Amazon, allow them to dominate the competition, kill small mom and pop businesses. This is all a ploy against you, and that's why we're hearing stories of less vacation days, of people being not able to survive with basic needs, without even being able to pay for their food, without being able to even afford a place to live. And that is happening more, and it's going to keep happening more under this fraudulent system that we all live under, all because of the disinformation that's being spewed out there. And that's why we're trying to slap people's consciousness, wake up their soul, and make them realize that you have a short time in this life. Don't make a stupid decision by going along with what everyone tells you to do, along with the system that is meant to deprive you of your soul and your existence. And that's exactly what it does. It's sad. It's sickening. Some of the people I talked to yesterday, I was just like, that sucks. And that, why didn't you know? For me, I would rather steal than take a loan. I'm being blunt here. I would never borrow money that I don't have. I don't think anyone should. I don't think it's a wise decision. And it's just incredibly, incredibly stupid just to see the effects of this. And of course, crime, local crime, small petty crime is going up at the same time because of those pressures that are put on us. So just overall, big fraudulent system we're living in. That's my take.
No, don't disagree with you, my man. I mean, it's pretty crazy that you could go to a 4-year school, pay off 18 grand, and you still owe another 24. And by the time she's paid off another 18 of that, she won't owe 6. She'll owe another 13. So it is a very fraudulent system. I do not think education is a bad thing, by the way. However, we now live in a society, Luke, where if you want to educate yourself via the internet, via the school of YouTube and others, there are the masterclass systems out there. You can do so in a rather short period of time, specialized. Now, I'll admit it's been going slow, but how long have we been doing this show? About 6 months, you think, Luke? Live on Sundays?
I think we're only 3 months.
Has it only been 3? I feel like we've done it a little bit more, but let's say it's 3 months. I've taught myself self-broadcasting pretty quickly, and I'm still getting better. We're going to hopefully be able to add phone calls in the next couple of weeks, but self-taught. I got on there, I got on the internet. When I don't know how to do something in Adobe Premiere or Photoshop, those are good things. Also, hey, think about getting a mentor or doing an internship, because you know what people look for? They look for real world experience. And by the way, if you get that real world experience in something that you do love, that you do enjoy, it also feels less like work. So the idea that you have to be force fed into this cookie cutter system where, again, you take out a huge loan that's going to take you forever to pay back, all while your adult life you get credit cards that you continually can't pay off in time and you're paying the minimum. Yeah, you become a debt slave. It's insanity to me. I've never owned a credit card. I've bought pretty much everything in my life outright. And a lot of people think that I'm crazy for that, but at the same time, Visa ain't calling me every day, Luke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, even a 1-year trade school, I think, is a better idea than everything else. And
Absolutely.
I disagree with you. I don't believe in government education. I call it indoctrination. And just like you learned you learned so many different aspects of this kind of live streaming system of doing this live show. I've kind of had a similar process of just learning to do everything on my own. The first video I did, I had to borrow a camera from a friend. It was when I confronted Zbigniew Brzezinski. I had to run away from his personal security detail and the security guards, ran away from them, went to my friend's house in Long Island who had a computer that could actually process the DVD tapes. He actually had a FireWire input. I put it in there, and then I stayed up all night. He went to sleep. He had work. Stayed up all night from 1 o'clock, right after just confronting Zbigniew Brzezinski, and I'm like, okay, how do I do this? And I just started pressing buttons, and I started learning. 7 o'clock, I finally was finished. He dropped me off at the subway station, went to school the next day and continued school, and the video was already uploaded with me just playing around and learning and doing this all intuitively because I had a passion for this. I did get a degree, but it's absolutely pointless, and I don't need it, and I wish I never went to school and wasted my time that I could have been learning things on my own and being a better person and caring and really getting some real life experiences and learning about the true way that life is. And the best way to do that is also traveling, going out there and experiencing things and learning things firsthand, which this job gives me that opportunity to do. I love to learn. I love to read. I love to research things. I love to investigate things. I love being able to take all those things, squash it down, and then share it with you guys. We have one more story, and the story pissed me off. Like this story is insane. I just before the show started, I tweeted, this is why. What did I tweet? Let me go on my Twitter account right now just to make sure I'm accurate here. The government is the worst criminal of them all. I got so angry at this. We could play the video in the background. We could play small segments of it, Jason.
Well, we could play this one will have good sound, so why don't we just play it for the people? Why don't we not even intro it? Because it is that heinous, it is that crazy, and it's just that over the top.
We might get a copyright strike, so let's just play it in the background and play maybe like a 15-second snippet of it, if that's possible. If you could just
hold on 1 second.
This story is from a young mother in Texas that was arrested for, quote, marijuana use. Her penalty was severe because she smelled like marijuana when she was driving her car and she happened to be in a school zone. Now, Texas has very strong drug laws. But the story that you need to know is that she suffered from medical conditions where she has seizures. Medical marijuana helped her with those seizures. The police officers didn't care. They arrested her, threw her in jail, and the jail guard at jail raped her. This is just infuriating to the utmost how backwards, asinine, stupid, and utterly criminal this whole system is. You want to play a little clip from that, Jason?
Well, we're actually watching it in the background right now. We're going to turn up the volume on it.
He pulled my pants down, and then he pulled his pants down. And I just, like, I froze. I asked him not to do it.
In an exclusive interview today, Lopez and
So let's just pause it right there. Like you said, this woman had about a gram of marijuana on her. Okay, she explained to him that it helped with her seizures, her condition. He said because she was in a school zone, instead of getting a ticket, he brought her to jail where she would spend one night and be raped by either another officer or guard. And right now they're saying they don't have they're doing their due diligence, but they don't have any video evidence yet. This is insanity. Yeah. It needs to be decriminalized across the board. Not only does this person need to be fired, obviously he needs to do 20 to life in jail, but the department also needs to be sued up and down. This is crazy.
No, that is not, no. The whole administration of the jail who allowed this to happen, the police officer who made this happen, need to be locked in a room with Gina Haspel and let Gina Haspel do what the hell she wants. Gina Haspel, by the way, is the new CIA director that was just appointed this week as well, who her co-workers were saying she really enjoyed torturing people. That's the new CIA director. Put the police officer who did this whole thing, I'm just following orders, I'm just doing what I'm told, is bullcrap, especially when it comes to this situation and how outrageous and criminal and backwards and insane this entire system is, that takes away human dignity, that takes away human life, and is unproactive when it comes to basic human needs. When you're driving and you're having a seizure, like, you're more in danger than a pothead driving. There's been many studies showing how potheads, especially people who regularly use marijuana, are a lot better drivers than normal drivers. But yet that still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, because this officer stopped her for some reason. And again, just put her in this horrible situation in jail for having the medicine on her. I'm at a loss for words here, but just triggered is nothing. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I can tell people that if you want to see the entire video, and by the way, this is a rather new news story. This woman needs our support. We should be taking this as national as possible. We got the whole thing posted just before this program over at facebook.com/wearechange.org, and there are a ton of great articles over there. We love you to chime in. A lot of great videos posted over there. You're not going to see anywhere else. And by the way, by sharing those links and that information, you help us out a great deal in broadening the message. So please go check that out. It is just one of the sickest, most unfortunate situations that never should have occurred, because marijuana should not be illegal, let alone a Schedule I drug, Luke.
Well, any drug. I'm sick of this nanny state bull crap with government telling you what you can and cannot put in your body, like they actually do give a damn or care about your safety and security, when they obviously don't. You're just really a goat or a pig or a cow on the farmland cattle, with them trying to extort you for your natural resources and the resources that you have to put more money into their pockets. You're just simply a revenue generating stream, and you better follow their laws. And it's just the most asinine thing. When do you think, like especially if you're driving, you get pulled over by a police officer on a motorcycle because you, quote, weren't wearing a seatbelt for your safety? That's really when you should think, like, hey, this doesn't make sense at all. And it's all asinine, and they're trying to put more rules in there because they care about you, and it's for your safety and security. We saw in Sacramento government drones flying over people's homes at 3 o'clock in the morning, again, for your safety and security. They were able to get one loiterer with this program, but they have a new drone program costing the taxpayer $20,000. And the worst repugnant thing that they're doing about this... repugnant thing that they're doing about this is that they're spending $20,000 of your money, your own money, to enslave you, to whip you with this financial burden, taking away your resources when already people are having enough hard time to just to survive and just to live under this fake, draconian, illegal, backward butt syndrome system that sucks donkey balls. That's all I have to say.
Well, you know what? I don't know what to say about that, Luke. But, I'm looking in the comments section, and, we want to take care of everybody over here. I'm seeing people post some stories talking about the transplantation of memories. I believe we did post that story earlier in the week. I'm actually scrolling through.
Jason, what we should do is post this video we don't have to upload this to DTube, but you have all the sources. Put up all the sources in the Steemit post right after this broadcast is over, so everyone could fact check everything yourself, just so you guys could do your own research. Don't believe anyone else's words. A lot of things are fake out there. A lot of people have political agendas. A lot of people do things not for the right reasons, especially in alternative independent media, and it's really up to you to be your own researcher, do your own work, and make sure if you're believing in something that you have the evidence to back it up. And that's why we do all the sources on our Steemit page, which again is steemit.com /at Luke WeAreChange. We should start a WeAreChange Steemit account as well. But
we do have one.
Okay, all right. What's that one?
It's WeAreChange.
Okay, at WeAreChange. So Steemit.com /at WeAreChange.
And actually, that's the one I have access to, so maybe I should post this video there, because I don't have access to the other one. You know how that is with Steemit, because it's like some kind of a code that it's almost like a crypto thing that you have to put in there. It's a little more confusing, folks.
Just so people know, Steemit is social media platform that is similar to Reddit and Facebook, but it is using blockchain technology and rewards not only content creators like us who post stuff, but also the people who like and comment on stuff as well. So you don't even have to be a content creator to gain cryptocurrencies. Those currencies are called Steem and Steem dollars, and then you could transfer them to any other demonetity or monetity of other cryptocurrencies as well. And it's a great platform that I've been using and utilizing for a very long time, and has helped keep us independent and has sustained us while we have to deal with the burden of YouTube kicking us in the balls and Facebook desanitizing and screwing us over, along with Twitter, that obviously is hurting everyone's reach. And it's not just us. It's a lot of other people who think outside the box. It's a lot of people who question authority. It's a lot of people who are anti-establishment, not just people on the right. That's been the big disinformation thing about here, saying that the right is only getting censored. No, it's also people, some people on the left, but also mainly people who are anti-establishment. The whole left-right thing is utterly fake. It's a total illusion. It doesn't really matter. The left and right are both calling for more power, more government, more conflict, when in reality it's really about are you an authoritarian or are you for freedom? That's really the basic simple lines here. And there are some people on both left and the left and right who are pure authoritarians, who just want more government, who want more abuse, who want a daddy to take care of them, to do everything for them, just like we've seen many Trumpsters call Donald Trump daddy. And the same thing with the left, saying we just want the big good government. We want the Federal Bureau of Investigations to be our Lord and Savior and do all the hard work for us. In reality, you got to slap your consciousness and make you aware that you're the only one responsible for your reality. You're the only one who could take care of yourself, and you should never put your power over anyone else, including in alternative media and especially in politics. Never be, can I say dumbass? Is dumbass cursing? Jason? No.
I mean, you're the milk and cookies guy that on the main page our video has the F word in it. You know that, right? The promo video? I always think about that because you're always what? I'm a hooey, but I'm an effing journalist, you anal. Hey, I love it. You know how I am. I'm just saying, dude. I'm just putting it out there. I think you're on a gravy train with biscuit wheels with that one.
You're a gosh darn biscuit eater, Jason. You know that? All right, that was it. That was all the pretty much articles. We could do a little small talk. We could answer some comments. Do you have some comments you want to address, Jason?
Yeah, again, I saw people in the comment section. So, yeah, we've talked about how now they're able to implant memories into small organisms. Some of the other things that we've covered over on the Facebook page you may have missed. Obviously, we covered the incident in Gaza ad nauseum. Luke did many videos over the week on that one. We got a story up there somewhere we're scrolling through where actually police decided to do a drill in a man's home while he wasn't there. They got a phone call that something was going on. Yes, I sent you that one earlier in the week, but we're going to scroll up to it. It's there. Basically what happened was the neighbors called because they saw an open door. The police came in. They cleared the home, and then he was on his monitors watching his phone, and they decided to run a 20-minute drill. in his home by re-entering it and clearing the area again. Pretty nuts. What else do we have? We've got journalist is handcuffed and violently beaten by Chinese police. You want to see what it looks like to live in China and be a journalist? It's not just a social credit score. Pretty scary stuff right there. A lot more on the Nexium cult. This one's a quote apparently attributed to Rainier. There is a mention of human smuggling, and he says it's okay for young girls to pleasure their fathers sexually.
What?
Yes, that's in there, my friend. Again, you got to keep up on the Facebook page. Here, we're just going to go right through it as we scroll through. Experts warn that Bitcoin could use more energy than the entire country of Austria before the end of the year, Luke. That's how big crypto is getting.
Pretty small, though. Austria's not that big.
It's big enough. And by the way, George Soros partnering up with Elon Musk this week, putting in, I believe, $35 million into his Tesla organization. We had new info on the Vegas shooter where they try to paint him as a right-wing conspiracy nut. We've kind of covered that before. Facebook shuts down 583 million users this week. They said they were fake Russian bots. Can we really trust them? Probably not.
You ever get tired, Jason, of just how repetitive everything is? It's like, oh yeah, the U.S. government bombed somebody. The police abused someone's rights. I don't know. I've just been having some epiphanies this week, and I'm like, oh, okay.
You know what? The desensitization is there, right? You're like, oh, this happened. Definitely. But especially with me kind of taking over the social media and constantly looking at the news, there are the slower days where maybe I only post 4 or 5 stories, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them are upbeat. And then you have days where 34 Chilean bishops have to resign, all of them, for a massive sexual abuse scandal. You know what I mean? That's a tough one, man. Again, every single one of them resigned. We have the media not reporting that Assad visited Putin, told him there was progress, and just this week vanquished ISIS out of Damascus. The war should be over, Luke. ISIS is gone. Mainstream media not reporting that one, my friend. And that's good news. Terrorists are being taken out. We have a Canadian man who's requested medical service. You want socialized medicine? Well, guess what? They're not offering him socialized medicine. He wants home care. They said, how about we euthanize you? And he is currently suing the system. Again, all these posted over at the Facebook. Sent that one to you a few days ago. You should watch that one. Pretty disturbing stuff. Basically has an autoimmune disorder. He's alive and could be kept alive for a very, very long time. You know what? It's cheaper to kill him than to give him medical treatment. And here's that article I said before. Man says cops did training exercise in his home without permission. Lots going on. We could go on. What was it?
I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed if I go home. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing here? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. So many stupid things happening. There's also, it's always a smorgasbord of something good happened, something bad happened. It is not easy to talk about these things. It definitely takes a wear and tear. I've been spending all week busting my butt, working and doing research and making sure every video is top notch. Our viewership has been definitely hit a lot. I'm trying to think of new ways that we could express ourselves, new ways that we could work, new ways that we could work on different projects. I think we should definitely need to hire someone, because we definitely need help with me and you just doing this, but we should definitely do some more brainstorming on more outside the box ideas, because this YouTube thing is not going to last and sustain us for a very long time. We're getting screwed, especially with the viewership. YouTube, people need to be reminded. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they decide what's popular. They decide what you see. They're the ones deciding who's going to be popular and what ideas are going to be ostracized. And they do that with their algorithms, and they're getting more and more intense with them. And the repercussions of that is that anyone who's small, anyone who's independent, anyone who's outside the box just gets kicked in the balls. Anyone who's a mainstream media corporate, can I say whore? I think I could say whore. Anyone who's a mainstream media corporate whore and just has the big money, CNN, Fox, all these other shows, they're just opening the front door for and promoting fully on. Which is also why, a big part of net neutrality, because then they'll be able to control those airways and those pathways to them a lot better, a lot easier, and cut more deals. And in one part, it's about the money. Obviously, there's a lot of power, a lot of influence with major companies, and pushing them in front of everyone else who did make the internet great. And now the internet's turning out to be a very similar system like the television programming, where small conglomerates own it and are able to wheel and deal and make and cut different deals that benefit them and their partners and their friends. And that's what I'm seeing right now. I think we're seeing it in real life with normal creators, small creators, just being screwed over. I mean, we have over 500,000 subscribers. Nothing has changed. I'm working harder than ever. I'm getting less views than ever before. It's just insane to see this happening. And I think, Jason, we definitely need to strategize and think of new ways and new platforms that we need to go to. If you guys, of course, have any ideas, let us know. The best way to contact me is through Twitter, twitter.com/LukeWeAreChange. If you tweet at me, I will most likely answer you. And but yeah, we need to have that conversation, Jason.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Hopefully, maybe we can, with the Nexium thing being so close, and I think June 12th is the next time there's some trial activity. We could go cover that. That's a large story. But, it's very tough with, like you said, over 500,000 subscribers, over 500,000 followers on Facebook, and us churning out content all the time, and that content being actively censored when we're not about right and left, Luke. We're about right and wrong, my friend.
Yeah, and I think, this is conspiratorial. This is just my own personal theory. I think there is an agenda to promote people who do promote the divide and conquer scheme. People who make common people fight each other or dislike each other or play into that programming of, you should be afraid of that other person because he has a different religion, he has different skin, he has different sexual beliefs or orientations. I think people like that, I do think, because again, with the algorithms, we know for sure that right now, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, they decide. Doesn't matter how many subscribers, doesn't matter how many followers you have, they decide what your reach. They're the ultimate dictators and being like, let's push up this to the front, let's push this one back, let's make sure no one sees this one, let's make sure people see this one. And it also could be because of the human condition to want that kind of conflict and infighting and that kind of divide and conquer scheme. But personally, my own theory is that there could be kind of a sinister thing behind the scenes with these major technocrats pushing people who make people fight other common people and not look up at the bigger kind of pyramid scheme that is meant against us and the real people who do have a lot of influence and power that are getting away with more horrible crimes in this world. That's just the way I see it. Again, that's just my own personal belief. I haven't found any evidence of backing that up. But that's just something that I personally believe in. Jason?
No, I don't think you're wrong, my friend. Again, it's tough out there these days. But, I think we've done a good job in opening people's minds and not, reverting to those kind of tactics where you're a libtard and you're a cuck. When I hear someone use the term cuck, I want to take them aside, not to lash out at them in front of other people. I want to take them aside and say, look, man, do you realize what a parody of yourself that you've become, that you're using that terminology? Can't we talk to each other? Can't you insult me a little bit better than you think for a second because you've listened to me for 1 minute? You don't agree with my political beliefs, so you'd like to think that I'm married and somebody's going to take advantage of my wife in front of me so that I'll enjoy it? I mean, that's literally what they're trying to say. Like that's the joke. And the joke isn't funny to me, man. It's ridiculous. It's so divisive.
It's not being funny after the 20,000th time. It's like, be original. Think of something else.
Well, they think it's funny because it also sounds a lot like a rooster. You know what I'm saying? They're doubling down. If you want to call me a COCK, go for it. I'll have a lot more respect for you. I'll tell you that right now, because I think that's actually funny. Because you can call anybody that, and it just means, hey, you're being a diphead. You know what I'm saying? We don't like it. You're being. It's not political. It's not degrading. It's not demeaning. It's like, hey, back off. And again, they do promote the people that are like, oh, look, he's triggered. He's triggered. It's Jigglypuff or whatever, the Trigglypuff or whatever. she dyes her armpits. That's new. It's like, all right, but at the end of the day, isn't that a human being that breathes the same air, eats food, goes to bed, has a family, has dreams, wants to be happy? Can't we find common ground? Can't we talk to one another? Is that so wrong?
And it's a cycle because, you know, she thinks people hate her because of her looks, so she hates other people. She gets bullied by some people, so she starts to bully other people. It's the whole cycle, and where your frequencies and where your energies are internally and what you think. It ultimately just goes back to your thoughts, because your thoughts become your beliefs, and your beliefs become your words and your actions and your habits and your values, and it ultimately becomes your destiny and your life, and how you decide them. So, like, having negative bullcrap and having just really just bad negative people all the time around yourself, it's so toxic. Like, you have no idea how toxic and how bad it is for your life, especially with how you choose to live it. But you see the cycle just repeating itself, especially with young children. The way we treat young children is ultimately how they will become. When there's abuse, when there's sexual abuse even with younger kids, a lot of times those victims become the same predators and become the same, do the same actions that were done to them. So we have to stop it, and we have to be bigger people, and we have to, you know, we have to bite the bullet. We've been biting the bullet because we know this is better for everyone else. It's not best for us, because if we wanted click tits, if we wanted the best QAnon information, we'll get a lot more. If we shield for either side on the left or right, we would get a lot more clicks. We would get a lot more views, a lot more drama, a lot more controversy. But again, it wouldn't benefit humanity, and it would be something that would take away from you, and it would take away from me, and it would make me not be able to sleep at night, and it would make me not happy. So that's why we don't do it. Biting the bullet on this one, I think it's going to work out, because like everything else, it has to. Do you have something to say, Jason, or could I just keep going?
No, I think you're right, man. I mean, I'm not big into the fear porn. We've never been that. There's a lot of things that we could have done. You know, like you said, we could have talked about Q, and we could talk about World War III all the time, and imaginary indictments, and tell people that the world's going to end, and that it's flat, and that we're riding a unicorn based on a leprechaun into the oasis of, you know, the multiverse. We could feed you Johnny nonsense that's popular at the time, and then make up the excuses that other people do when it falls through. It was great inside source. It was compromised. It was taken out by the Russians. I mean, the Ruskies got in there. I mean, we could do those sorts of things, my friend, but I think it's better to be honest with the audience and honest with ourselves, because you know what? I can wake up in the morning just like you, and I can look in the mirror and be pretty happy with who I am as a person. I think that's a key to enjoying life and spreading positivity to others that will then hopefully in turn spread positivity and reasoning to a populace where we can live with one another under a system that isn't as oppressive as the one we have now.
Or puts you in jail for medicine and then rapes you. Definitely don't want that system. The old system definitely needs to go. We got another question by Mimi. If Luke gets one interview on Joe Rogan, we'll have YouTube like the old days. I don't know if that's possible. I actually talked to Joe on Twitter. We always have scheduling problems to work something out. I definitely don't want to be that guy, be like, get me on. But if you guys could talk to him, reach out to him, I think it would be beneficial. There's definitely a lot of interesting things that I think we could definitely talk about. That should be fascinating, to say the least, because there's a lot of other stuff that I haven't even talked about. But it'll be interesting. We should do more of kind of podcasts too, Jason, and just kind of talk about and have random people on. We should also get interviews with people. Maybe even on the backup channel where we do like a kind of Rogan podcast, because I really enjoy watching some of those, even though I disagree with some of the viewpoints.
Yeah, I love them, and maybe like a Trevor Moore. He has a new album out, and he's got a lot of great stuff. Kitty History being one of them, and My Computer Just Became Self-Aware. A lot of good stuff, and plus it's always nice to have somebody that you can laugh with. I think that's why Rogan's podcast works, is because he's inherently not only an intelligent person but a comedian. So there are those breaks where we're not just talking about, you know, some girl being raped in a jail cell because she had a gram of weed. That comes with laughter over there. I think it's pretty hard to laugh about that stuff.
Yeah, to do that, you really have to pull something off that's special, but that's impossible to do in a lot of the circumstances. Obviously, the serious issues do need to be addressed, and not seeing anyone address them or talk about them makes me want to talk about them. Doing it in an entertaining way, that's a whole nother skill that we're doing our best, but we're not perfect. We got more super chats by Lord Pyrex, who's saying rooster power, Jason.
Really? Because I have another thing. I've got Lord Pyrex here, and it says, a path that I rehearse, a cycle on repeat. Life is like a lion, and I'm dying at its feet. Thank you so much for the fortune cookie and the $4.99, my friend. I appreciate that super chat. It makes me hungry.
Yeah, I'm kind of hungry too. What else is going on in your life, Jason? We should probably end it soon.
Yeah, I mean, we're here probably watching Westworld like the rest of the people out there. I find it a very intelligent and riveting show that bases around the nature of reality and the nature of consciousness and the nature of man. And I think it's been really excellent. I don't know if you've watched all of them yet, but it gets creepier and creepier by the day. I really enjoyed last week's episode, and I'm looking forward to tonight's, probably like most of the audience.
I'm still on season 1. Don't tell me what happened, but I haven't watched it in months. It looks interesting. It was definitely fascinating seeing the potential of sex robots gone wrong, which I think is ultimately the premise of the entire show, just sex robots.
Well, do you know that where it actually comes from? Because that show is based on 1970s movies that Michael Crichton, the creator of Jurassic Park, actually wrote. And it's not only Westworld, but Future World. It's actually a little bit different. But in the Future World sequel, it's also about cloning human beings that are very powerful because it costs a lot to go to this park, and then replacing them with robots that do their bidding on the other side. So a lot of places this show could go. Michael Crichton, a great author and science fiction really maven. So that source material is great, and HBO has done a great job. It's Christopher Nolan's brother. If you know Christopher Nolan from Memento, obviously the Batman series, and now his brother Jonathan Nolan and wife have done a great job with this series, Luke.
Good info there. People are asking me, where am I traveling? Well, I still have about 10 to 15 days before Bilderberg. I am definitely going to Bilderberg. I still have some medical stuff that I have to take care of here in New York City for a few more days, but I might have time to do another trip. You guys let me know. Let me know on my Twitter, Luke WeAreChange. Where should I go? What story should I cover? I already done a lot of crazy ones. I don't know if I want to risk my life. I risked my life a couple, what was it, a month ago, 2 months ago? 2 months ago? Usually I like to take a span of about 6 months before risking my life again for a crazy story. That's usually just the process with it, and make sure I don't have any PTSD from all the crazy stuff that I've done before. So I don't know if you want to send me somewhere crazy. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. I definitely need. Every time I do like one of these crazy ones, there takes a lot of emotional strength, a lot of psychological strength, a lot of mental work within myself to make sure everything is done. A lot of preparation to make sure it's done properly. So I'm definitely not in that phase of my life. So I can't go somewhere crazy. I can't go to Yemen yet. Don't you know? So any other stories that you guys want me to cover that hopefully don't include me risking my life, definitely please let me know on my Twitter account. And I definitely appreciate all the input. I definitely appreciate people allowing me to crash on their couch and to allow this independent media to really be global and really be available everywhere. We could go anywhere, anytime. And it's mainly because of you guys. So I always appreciate you guys. I want to thank you, Jason, for joining me. Any last words before we go off?
No, I just want to thank the audience for joining us every single week and remind them we do this every Sunday. Videos on the main and backup channel. Check them out. And please go over to the Facebook, Twitter, like, share. The social media helps us out a ton, guys, and we need your support now more than ever.
Yep, dangerous times are coming, as one of the people are commenting in the comments. Another person, there's a resemblance to Putin with Luke. Like, okay, you don't say. Yes, a lot of people are saying I'm Putin's son, but that's a whole different story. But regardless, I love your guys' comments. I love your guys' feedback. Continue the conversation on twitter.com/Luke WeAreChange. And I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, especially next Sunday, where we're going to do another live broadcast and hopefully take phone calls. So look forward to that. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone. Go to expose.